The Mini is as youthful as the day Sir Alec Issigonis first sketched its simple lines on a restaurant tablecloth. In 4 decades, it has become an icon. This symbol of irreverence and fun arrived just as the swinging 60s took off. But the Mini's ride is far from over. In an era of ever larger SUVs and over-the-top grand luxury sedans, the Mini bucked the trend. Mini fans have always believed that small is beautiful. Also, it's fun. There is no other car like a Mini. It's a small car at home in a crowded city and equally happy out on the highway. The new Mini was designed to capture the spirit of the classic. It had to be lively, handle well, and be fun no matter where it was driven. The spirit of the Mini goes back to the 1920s. The families who couldn't afford large cars turned to Austin. Eventually, Austin merged with Morris to form the British Motor Corporation, or BMC. The Austin 7 and Morris Bulldog gave way to the Morris Minor. This car was hugely successful. It was rugged, reliable, and inexpensive. Exactly what post-war Britain needed. It helped to get the country back on wheels. These durable cars were designed for urban life. But as congestion increased on London's busy streets, there was a need for an even smaller car to keep things moving. Alec Issigonis, who designed the Morris Minor, had an idea.
The easiest way to win a battle of this sort is to make a car that is so unusual compared with all the other cars around it that it automatically becomes a status symbol.
Issigonis was a brilliant designer. He dived into the task of producing a car with a tremendous amount of interior space in a small package. This had never been done before. He and his team were determined to comfortably pack 4 passengers in a bold, racy car. Their breakthrough idea, placing the engine across the car. The transmission was moved under the engine. Front-wheel drive created a flat floor, providing more interior room. 4-wheel independent suspension with rubber cones instead of steel springs improved the ride and handling. The car had an astonishing amount of room. It had ample seating for 4 adult passengers inside a tiny body. This was revolutionary. The designers were hailed as brilliant. They hoped they'd dreamed up a wonder car. They built a prototype to see if their ideas would work. Once the handmade components were done, the testing began. They converted a nearby airfield into a test track. The prototype was put through a set of trials. Rack and pinion steering gave the car a 30-foot turning circle, good for parking. High-speed tests were set up to see whether the hydraulic brakes stopped the little wheels. Tests over a rough track challenged the new rubber suspension. The test drivers said the cars passed with flying colours. It was time to begin production. The manufacturing was as unconventional as the car. The small bodies were put together in a specially designed jig, not on a moving assembly line. The entire framework was welded together piece by piece. After assembly, the bodies were inspected before painting. It was a slow and meticulous process. The completed sections began to look like a car. It was ready for paint. Every member of the assembly team knew their job. The emblem was bolted on. The speedometer was fitted. Then the radiator grille slipped into place. It was beginning to take shape. The completed little body was ready to be mated with the subframe and engine assembly. Finally, here was something that looked like it might drive. The incredible car had become a reality. It came in two versions, the Austin 7 and the Morris Mini Minor. Now, would anyone want one of their tiny cars? The tension mounted at the company. The press had the first look at the Mini in 1959. No one knew what to expect. It was so unconventional. They were intrigued, but a little mystified. Issigonis was there to answer questions and explain the ideas behind his radical new car. Everyone just wanted to get behind the wheel and see how it handled. The company had set up a private proving ground in Surrey for the press launch. The journalists drove off at timed intervals so that they had plenty of room to test the handling and performance. The staggered starts also avoided collisions between the enthusiastic scribes. The cars jetted away and showed the drivers how much performance was stuffed into this little package. They were surprised to find out how roomy it was and how well it handled. It was hard to get them out of the cars. Their reports were everything the company had hoped for. The Mini was a hit. With a base price of just under $790, production could barely keep up with demand. In 1959, 20,000 cars rolled out of the factory, and by 1962, VMC was turning out over 200,000. It was on its way to becoming a cultural phenomenon. The Mini was perfect for families. Though the smallest four-seater car, it could hold huge amounts of luggage. It seemed to be bigger inside than on the outside.